is a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Fox Sports. We are Southeast.
Well, the city of Quakers has been anything but friendly to the Atlanta Braves in the first two games of this series here at Citizens Bank Park. But hopefully Atlanta can cool off Jeremy Hellickson behind Tyrell Jenkins, who pitches as a starter for the first time in his young big league career. It's Game 3 here at the Bank Vault. Hi again, friends. Chip and Joe, welcome back to the ballpark. The Phillies offense is in high gear. Tyrell Jenkins steps to the mound as a starter for the first time. He'll try to keep the ball in the ballpark in Game 3.
Yeah, he's the 12th different pitcher to use the Braves to use on the starting rotation this year, and he's the 4th guy to make his major league debut as a starter for the Braves. 23 years old, minor league numbers, a 3.75 ERA at AAA this year, 9 starts, good numbers, a 2.96 ERA, and last year's organizational pitcher of the year. He has pitched well since he's come up here, but all out of the bullpen. And today we asked Brian Snitker, his manager, what we could expect from Tyrell.
He's been stretched out as a starter all spring and all summer. He hasn't lately, so we'll just kind of monitor him. You know, he may get tired. I don't know when. You know, 3 innings, 4 innings. Hoping if he can go 5 innings, that'd be great. That'd be great.
So Tyrell Jenkins, our Synovus Greatness Made Here feature. Hopefully the Braves will have a great day as they wrap up this series with the Phillies on a hot, steamy afternoon here in South Philadelphia.
Atlanta Braves baseball is presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day. Baseball is sponsored by Chevrolet.
Back in Philadelphia on a beautiful summer afternoon here at Citizens Bank Park. All-star selections were announced yesterday. Julio Teheran for the Braves, Odubel Herrera for the Phillies, and also the Philly Fanatic is headed to the All-Star game. And Eric Aybar, well, made the Fanatic beg to get his All-Star jersey back.
Had his keys to his scooter too, his four-wheeler.
Roll over, beg, and then fetch.
And then the Fanatic went over to the policeman and wanted him arrested.
He's simply the best. Jeremy Hellickson's got the ball for the Phillies. He's been a nice find for Philadelphia, and after some struggles that lasted about a month, Joe, looks like he's turning things around.
He sure has. He's 29 years old, 6'1", 190 out of Des Moines, Iowa. Still lives there. His last 3 starts, excellent numbers, and he has not allowed a home run in any of those 3 starts. That covers 18 innings, and only 2 walks over that stretch as well, and 15 strikeouts. So he's pitching his best baseball of the year right here before the break. Low 90s fastball with one of the best changeups in the game. We'll see a lot of those today.
And there are some, Joe, who think he might be a very attractive trade candidate for this Phillies ball club. And especially the way he's pitching, he's getting hot at the right time. Hopefully Atlanta's offense will heat up. It's been a struggle for the Braves bats in this series. Jace Peterson, Ender Inciarte, and Freddie Freeman the first 3, followed by Nick Markakis, Jeff FRANCOEUR another start. Adonis Garcia's at third, A.J. Przinsky, Eric Aybar, and Tyrell Jenkins making his big league debut as a starting pitcher today. The Phillies defense, Ashley Herrera and Borges left to right in the outfield. Franco, Galvis, Hernandez, and Joseph. And our old pal Carlos Ruiz is behind the plate. First time we've seen Chooch in this 3-game series. Jace Peterson's 2 for 8 against the Phillies in the set. And Hellickson turns it loose, and we're underway. A strike. It's 92 degrees at first pitch. And a lot hotter than that down on the field.
Yeah, we noticed that in Atlanta. That on that hot day, on getaway day, it was almost 110 degrees or so on the field. Same thing here.
The one thing you notice right away with Hellickson, very deliberate delivery. And wherever Carlos Ruiz sets up, he is hitting the glove.
Only 25 walks in right at 100 innings.
Popped up. Left side, who wants it? Tough Sky. It is going to be the shortstop, Freddie Galvis. Boy, that was a tough play. And he made it. And Peterson pops out to start the game. 1 out. Ender Inciarte is the batter for the Braves. He's hit a homer in the series. He's 5 for 28 this year against the Phillies.
Made a solid return last night with a home run. Also made a great catch in center.
That homer came in the 7th inning last night. And he takes off the plate. 1 ball, no strikes. Braves had their share of hits. They had their share of base runners last night, but double plays took them out of scoring opportunities. And this one a mile high to center, where Odubel Herrera camps out. And he's there. Shoulder high catch, 2 outs. And here's Freddie Freeman.
He's given up 16 homers on the year. And that's what's notable about the fact that he hasn't allowed any in his last 3 starts. A lot of fly ball outs, especially on hitters that are fooled on his changeup.
The Phillies held Freddie Freeman without a hit last night, but still the big Braves first baseman has hit safely in 18 of 23 games with a .402 average in that stretch. Outside corner strike evens the count. The Phillies will pitch Freeman very, very carefully. He's got 11 hits and 4 homers this year against the Phillies staff. And his good work is our Georgia Lottery hitting the jackpot feature.
Since the middle of June, a 407 average, 4 homers, 10 RBIs. The homers bump up that slugging percentage. He's rolling right now.
And a swing and a miss. The Braves are retired in order in the top of a scoreless first. Tyrell Jenkins makes his first big league start. We'll see that right after this. Cool on this hot summer afternoon in Philadelphia. The Braves went in order in the top of the first, and now Tyrell Jenkins gets to start in the big leagues today.
Pretty exciting stuff. I'm telling you, 23 years old, 6'4", 210 at AAA. His 9 starts there, an excellent ERA and a 139 whip. Low to mid-90s fastball that just jumps out of his hand, and a good slider too. His 4 keys to pitching success today: be aggressive, pitch inside, don't be shy about that. Up to this point, he has not been shy about anything. And early troubles. Try to get through the first couple of innings unscathed and give your offense a chance to give you a lead.
But keeping these Phillies off the scoreboard has been a problem for just about everybody they've faced over the last couple of weeks. They are a terrifying offensive club right now. And it starts with a double Herrera. First pitch, bouncing ball. Jace can't get it. It's a first pitch single for the Phillies leadoff man, who was named an all-star for the first time last night. You look at his overall numbers, it's easy to understand why.
And wasting no time. If you were not with us for the first game in this series on the 4th of July, this team sees fewer pitches per at bat than any team in the major leagues. They like to hit that first pitch, and especially the first 2 or 3 pitches in an at bat.
Now remember, Tyrell has an excellent pickoff move. Braves picked off Herrera earlier in this series. Let's see if that comes into play this afternoon, as Peter Borges is the Philadelphia hitter. He's riding a career-high 14-game hitting streak. It's the second longest active streak in the major leagues, behind the Dodgers' Corey Seager, who's hit safely in 18 straight. Short lead at first, and the pitch is a bunt, popped up and just out of reach of A.J. Przinsky. That's a tough break.
Yeah, that would have been a good out. Paul Bird, I have a question for you. As a former pitcher, did you ever have any first inning problems where you kind of got in a rut? And if so, what'd you do about it?
Well, I did, and I think when you have 3 or 4 pitches, it's hard to get everything working at once. You know, thus the adage, you want to get to a good pitcher, get to him early. Don't let them settle in, get in a groove. So what I started doing, Joe, is I would go down to the bullpen. I would ask a hitter to go stand in, and I would try to throw at least 1, maybe 2 to 3 batters like it was the first inning, as hard as I could to try and get everything going. And then that way I wanted that good 10, 15-minute rest, tried to simulate that first inning. And when I went into the game, it helped me have everything working for that first inning.
It's almost as if you'd already pitched an inning.
It is. That was important. And the flip side, why doesn't everybody do that? Well, you only have so many bullets, so you don't want to waste some of those pitches, you know, prior to the game. But my thinking was, if I'm on, I'm going to save pitches later because I'll be more effective early. So it'll come out in the wash as being even. So I used to do that, and it helped me, and recommended it to some other pitchers. Everybody's different, may not work for everybody, but it certainly did for me.
1 ball, 2 strikes for Borges. Now, we talked and joked with Tom Glavine about that in his career. Historically, Tom, if he had trouble, it was off in the first inning. And Paul, his idea was, well, I get it out of the way, and I've got 8 or 9 more innings for my team to catch up. So how does it not become a mental thing for a pitcher who has first inning troubles is my question. Bouncer back to the mound. Borges retired. That's as good as a sacrifice, though. Herrera's in scoring position for Cody Ashe.
It can become a mental thing, Chip. And, you know, as this game is in so many areas, you have to fight off the demons in your head. But one thing that you can do if you don't want to throw a full inning or 1 or 2 hitters is just really be conscious of working on the pitch that you have the most trouble with in the first inning. If that's your breaking ball, then you can, at the end of your bullpen, throw more sliders or curves. If you have trouble throwing the fastball in early in the game, then you make sure that you finish your bullpen with 5 to 10 fastballs in and just really concentrate on executing that pitch. Another way to attack those first inning troubles.
And I asked that question to begin with because certainly this is Terrell's first inning as a starter, but the Braves all year long have had some first inning problems and have been outscored in the first inning by some 30 runs this year, and that's why I was wondering what you might have done when you had issues. So thanks.
You got it. And it's a great catch by you. Specifically with the Phillies, you made the point that they swing early. So I would make sure that I had my breaking stuff early and be ready to pitch guys backwards. Other than, hey, I got to establish that fastball right away. I may try something a little different if what I am doing hasn't been working.
And that first run has been so critically important for this Braves club all year. When the Braves score first, they're actually a game over 500, 15-14. But 57 first inning runs and a near 6-point ERA has put this offense, which is challenged to hit the ball out of the ballpark, as we all know, behind an 8 ball an awful lot in the first couple of frames.
Well, Paul pointed out last night about Mike Foltynewicz pitching in. So far, Terrell's doing the same thing. 2 good fastballs in off the plate a little bit, but in on Ashe.
I was looking for something inner half that time and was out in front and pulled it out of play. And the count now 2-2 for the Phillies left fielder Cody Ashe, the pride of the University of Nebraska.
Something else I like about what Terrell's doing today is that for the last couple of 3 weeks he's been working out of the bullpen, so he's been working out of the stretch. He didn't start today's game out of the windup because he's been, this must be a comfort level for him, the way he's been pitching lately.
Herrera at second, 1 out. We're in the first. Cody Ashe, the Phillies' third place hitter. Little pop, shallow right, and Markakis will get there. And back to second is Herrera. That's the second out. And here's Michael Franco, the Phillies' third baseman.
Well, we know what he'll want to do when he goes up there. All 3 hitters so far have swung at the first pitch, and this guy will be swinging from his heels on the first pitch if he can get anything close.
I hate to ask you this question this way, but there's really no other way to ask it. In your era, How would his aggressiveness be greeted by pitchers?
Well, it wouldn't be greeted here because of the runner at second base, but there would be an opportunity to move him off the plate, make him move his feet so that he's not quite so comfortable swinging from his heels every pitch.
One ball, no strikes for Franco, who's hit 16 home runs, 48 RBIs, and has been a big-time run producer in the middle of this Phillies lineup. He's hit 3 homers against the Braves this year.
Another thing here is the way he's been swinging the bat, and as good as he has been, you've got a base open and you've got the backup catcher now, Ruiz, on deck, who hasn't been playing much. Pretty good pitch there, just off.
Would the Phillies green light him?
Yeah, don't assume he's going to take one.
They did, and it's yanked foul. Herrera led off with a first pitch single up the middle. Borges with a ground ball back to the mound. Ashe flied out to right, and now it's a 3-1 count to the Phillies cleanup man. No score. And a bouncing ball to the second baseman in the shift. Jace Peterson's got it, and Terrell Jenkins, first inning as a major league starter, is scoreless. Nice job, kid. We go to the second. No score. In Philadelphia, and fans available for any remaining game during the 2016 season. When groups of 20 or more buy their tickets together, each person will get a limited edition replica red Chipper Jones jersey shirt. Packages start as low as $20 per ticket. Go to Braves.com/Chipper to get more information. So Hellickson back to work for the Phils. He retired the Braves in order, 1, 2, 3 in the first. He'll face Markakis, Francoeur, and Garcia here in the second. Of all the Braves, Nick Markakis has seen Hellickson the most. Hellickson, you might recall, is a former Rookie of the Year while with the Tampa Bay Rays. Markakis had a lot of great years with the Baltimore Orioles, so they hooked up a lot in American League Eastern Division play. Nick's 9 for 41 against him with 2 career homers. And a fly ball will chase Ashe back a few steps in left. 1 out. Here's Jeff FRANCOEUR. He's had a good series. Jeff with 3 hits and 7 tries. Jeff's getting a lot of playing time, not just against lefties.
He's swinging the bat real well, hitting 290 to 300 over the last month or so.
Emilio Bonifacio's riding an 0 for 14. Chase Darno is 0 for his last 8. And Jeff's seen Hellickson as well. He's got a couple of hits against him.
That is such a good changeup. He struck out Freeman with it to end the first inning. It's one of those that a lot of players describe as a Bugs Bunny changeup. It just looks like a cartoon because it just floats up there so slowly. That was 80 miles an hour after having thrown him a 92 fastball before.
Little roller hit toward third and foul. 11 years ago tomorrow, Jeff FRANCOEUR made his major league debut.
Is that right?
Seems like only yesterday, doesn't it?
Yeah. That was an exciting night.
And a swing and a miss. Hellickson has his second strikeout. Jeff, by the way, on Friday will celebrate 10 full years of service time in the major leagues.
That's an accomplishment too. I mean, the way he throws it, the changeup, it's almost like a knuckleball. It's so slow, such a slow delivery. It's almost like a guy floating a knuckleball up there. But the arm action and everything is just like his fastball, and that's what makes it effective.
Adonis Garcia is 1 for 4 in the series. And popped out of play, foul. Slowly the Braves are getting a little healthier. Gordon Beckham was supposed to have played 9 innings in a rehab yesterday. It's thought that he might be back for the Braves tomorrow. If that's the case, obviously we'd have to see a roster move for the Atlanta club. Beckham's missed a lot of time with a couple of hamstring pulls, so look forward to seeing him come back. As this one's lifted into left. Ashe misjudged it, but came in and dived to make the grab, and that retires the side. 6 up, 6 down, no score. Phillies are coming up after a nice catch by Cody Ashe, our converted third baseman playing left for the Phillies.
Up in bottom of the second, and I got to tell you this, guys. Terrell Jenkins with his first major league start, me being part of the media, a whole group of us followed him over his locker yesterday and said, what do you think about making your first start? He said, me? What? I'm starting? We all backed up. He just started laughing. Hey, you can't be clowning around like that before your first major league start. Very relaxed, says all the right things, always smiling. But get this, Chip and Joe, when he gets on the mound, he gets mean. His mom, Sharon, asked him, Terrell, why are you so mean on the mound? He said, Mom, you don't even want to know what I'm thinking.
That's great.
Great competitor on the field, great guy off. Those are my favorite kind.
Well, as Joe said in the pregame comments on Braves Live, you know that the Jalapeno Tree restaurant in Henderson, Texas is full of Tyrell Jenkins fans today.
It's rocking right now at lunchtime.
And there's another connection to Henderson, Texas in the ballpark today. Scott Fransky, who is one of the best play-by-play guys in the business. He's on the radio call for the Phillies as Ruiz walks to start the second inning. Scott Fransky used to be the play-by-play voice of the Henderson Lions football team, so he knows all about the Jalapeno Tree restaurant. In fact, he said there's more than one location. And he sent me this as a text. I've got to read it because I couldn't believe it.
Scott on the left, bless his heart, has to work with Larry Anderson every day.
There's apparently another Jalapeno Tree restaurant in one of the great named cities in America. I'm gonna go have me a taco at Jalapeno Tree in Gun Barrel City, Texas. Gun Barrel City, Texas.
Like it.
So hope the Jenkins family's enjoying lunch and Tyrell's work so far today. Liner foul out of play by Tommy Joseph, the Phillies first baseman, who has taken over for Ryan Howard.
And after a real slow stretch, 0 for 18, he's coming out of it here against the Braves. I like that shot of the radio booth of the Phillies. Just kind of shows you how close Scott and Larry really are. Yeah.
That's a look you see from Larry a lot, don't you?
Mm-hmm. It's like they're not having any fun.
No. Hot shot, base hit by Joseph the other way. And trouble afoot for the Phillies. 2 on and nobody out. So Joseph is coming on for the Fightins. That's another reason why their offense is in high gear.
Well, they got to like the fact that he's hitting the ball the other way, taking advantage of that hole on the right side and taking his single. He's hit a home run that went way out of here last night. So all good signs for the Fightins.
And that'll bring up Freddie Galvis. And that's sunk low. 1 ball, no strikes. Galvis is a lifetime .295 hitter against the Braves. He's had a tough year at the plate, hitting just .218. And as you said, that new look batting stance.
I don't like it. I don't like it for him. It works for Herrera because it's unique to him. But to try to emulate somebody who does something that's so off the charts different and make it work for you is very difficult in the middle of the year. A lot of moving parts there with that. If you can call it a stride, it's not really that much of a stride forward, but back to the plate. So you're diving into the plate. Hard to then clear your hips to get out of the way on anything inside.
Swing and a miss. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
I get it, trying, you know, when you're scuffling to maybe make an adjustment or two. And I really understand opening your stance up so you get a little better look at the pitch. But he's really gone way off the charts.
He slaps this ball towards short. Ibar charges, throws on the run, and it's productive out for Galvis. Ruiz to third, Joseph to second, 1 out, and CESAR Hernandez is coming up.
Nice play again by Eric. who's playing his best baseball of the year over the last 3 weeks. Tough play.
And Dave O'Brien from the AJC has a nice story online today about how Ibar's season really turned around after the chicken bone in the throat incident.
Oh,
that might have been
red letter date.
Here's Hernandez. 2 on, 1 out, no score. Hernandez has knocked in 20 runs. You've got the pitcher next. And downstairs, 1 ball, no strikes. Speaking of red letter days, the Tigers lead Cleveland, believe it or not. 3-2 in the 5th.
Long way to go. Tigers looking for their first win of the year against the Indians.
Bouncing ball to first. Freeman looks Ruiz back to third. There's the second out. Boy, did Tyrell need a ground ball and an atom ball to Freddie Freeman. And now the pitcher's up with 2 outs.
Yeah, if he hits that ground ball to short or second or third, excuse me, to second or short, it's going to be a run. But by pulling it, and a nice play by Freddie, everybody had to hold. Get the pitcher and you get out of it.
Yeah, you don't want to face Herrera here, so get a man that's 2 for 23 at the plate. Hellickson does have 2 runs batted in and 6 sacrifices, so he can handle the bat. Ball 1 high. Pretty good cut. And a great one-handed catch beyond the Phillies dugout. Ball 2.
He was a pretty good athlete, like so many ball players in different sports. In high school, he was recruited by the University of Iowa to play basketball and baseball. Ultimately committed to Paul Bird's LSU Bengal Tigers before signing with Tampa Bay.
Ground ball. Ibar got there, and his throw is right on the money. 2 nice plays by Ibar defensively in the 2nd inning, and Jenkins works out of a 2 on, nobody out mess to keep the game scoreless. Jenkins, 2 scoreless innings as a major league starter.
Yeah, looks good. Got out of that jam nicely after 2 on, nobody out.
And while we have a moment, as Hellickson just got to the mound, it's time for our Here's to 20 Years feature, brought to you by Synovus. July 11th, 2000, Turner Field hosted the Midsummer Classic. 51,223 fans saw Chipper Jones put on a show. His 3rd inning homer made him the 13th player in history to hit an all-star game homer in his own park. Chipper also went 3 for 3 on the night, but the American League came away with a 6-3 victory. Here's to 20 years from Synovus, the bank of here. Another great moment in Turner Field history.
Another great moment in Chipper Jones history, too. But wasn't it amazing how he had a knack for the moment, you know, and big moments like that? I always talked about how he ought to go on the disabled list a couple of times every year, because he'd come back from the DL just raking every time and always get a big hit or a home run that first game back somehow, some way.
How cool is that? Only 13 guys until that point to homer in their home ballpark in All-Star game history.
Yeah, that's a nice trot right there.
So hope Chipper's doing well and enjoying today's game, where Braves and Phillies meet for the third time in the series. A.J. Pierzynski, Eric Ibar, and Tyrell Jenkins are coming up. Hellickson has a pair of strikeouts and has set down his first 6 in order. Back to the mound, and Hellickson with a nice stab takes care of A.J. on one pitch. 1 down.
A.J.'s in one of those ruts that he can't find a hole, he can't find an opening, he can't find an outfielder that's not going to run his gapper down, and gets robbed there by Hellickson. Lucky the bat didn't come down and hit himself.
Here's Ibar. He's homered in the series and is hitting .223. Again, his average doesn't sound like much now, but considering where it was for a long period of time, it's been a dramatic improvement for the Braves shortstop at the plate.
Well, you hear guys say all the time, Chip, about, you know, what have you done for me lately? But also, you know, there's nothing I can do about a slow start. There's nothing I can do about April now, or part of May. So I've just got to start playing better baseball at this point, and he has.
And that's the first Atlanta hit. Ashe cuts it off in left. Ibar singles with 1 out. His 5-game hitting streak was snapped last night, but over his last 22 games, Ibar now has 23 hits. And we'll see if Jenkins can lay down a sacrifice.
Nice piece of hitting. Going the other way. I mean, Hellickson's a smart guy. He knows that there's going to be some guys that go up there just sitting on that changeup. And if they are, and his fastball's good enough to get ahead in the count, somehow that flip-flops the strategy.
Oh, 0-2. Jace Peterson waits on deck. Ibar at first with the first Atlanta hit. He got the bunt down with 2 strikes. Ruiz has to hurry, and it's off the glove, and all hands are safe, and heading to third is Ibar on the play.
Nicely done with 2 strikes. And not only that, Terrell was running in fair territory and had the presence of mind to kind of jump over into foul territory at the last second, and that may have distracted Hernandez somehow. You can see Terrell, as he was taken off, was well out on near the grass. And a big man running at you down the line, that's kind of hard to reach in his path and catch the ball.
And it's a sacrifice for Jenkins. The error is on CESAR Hernandez covering the base. Ibar's at third. They're at the corners for Jace Peterson. And the game's still scoreless. Jace had a 2-hit night last night. He's got a hit in 20 of his last 22 games. A fly ball could put Atlanta in front. And that's outside, ball 1. As I said, when the Braves score the first run in the game, they've held up their end of the bargain. They're 15-14.
Mighty important for a rookie pitcher, too, to have a run to work with. Hellickson started him with a changeup. He wants a ground ball.
Two balls, no strikes.
I don't think Jace will get a green light here.
It wasn't close. So ball 4 loads him up for Atlanta, and Ender Inciarte, the key man in the inning.
And again, just 2 walks over his last 3 starts coming in, so that has not been an issue. Ender hit a lightning bolt out of here last night. His first game back.
This is his 3rd at bat this season with the bases loaded. Let's see if he can put Terrell Jenkins and the Braves in front. Ender flied out to center, his first and only time up. Popped him up on the first pitch. Galvis at short. Battles the sun, makes the play. 2 outs.
When the Braves were on that nice winning streak, they took advantage of every opportunity in every situation. They hit well with runners in scoring position, 2 outs, runners at third less than 2 outs. Seems like they rarely fail to get that runner in or across somehow. And lately it's been tough sledding for that.
What makes that doubly painful is Hellickson just walked the man before Inciarte, and he swung at the first pitch. But the Phillies not out of the woods yet. Freddie Freeman's up. No place to put him. And as we talked about earlier, if there is a Brave that has worn out the Phillies staff, it's Freddie Freeman. This will be a great time for his first career grand slam. Didn't get it. 1 ball, 1 strike, and Freeman needs some stickum.
They've got the shift on for Freddie, and as a result, Maikel Franco, the third baseman, is way over towards shortstop. That allows Eric Ibar a huge lead down the third base line. He tried to draw a balk, ran about halfway down the line right before the first pitch to Freeman.
One ball, 1 strike. And again, Freddie comes away looking at his hands. He can't get a good grip on the bat, it looks like.
Yeah, and soft stuff too from Hellickson, trying to keep him off balance. Carlos Ruiz, one of the catchers that likes to go upstairs out of the zone. Situations like that when they get ahead in the count.
1 ball, 2 strikes. So to use your phrase, from the Phillies' perspective, that's far enough.
Yeah, and if you want to think along with Freddie, You think, okay, they wasted a pitch in on me to move me back. Odds are they're going to go away now if that was a setup pitch.
In again, and it missed badly. So now it gets very interesting. Ibar at third, Jenkins at second, Peterson at first. The Braves runners will be going with 2 outs.
Yeah, that was a big miss on location because he didn't want to make a mistake in the middle of the plate. This will be very interesting in his choice because his out pitch is the changeup. And at the risk of walking in a runner, you know that's what he would like to throw.
Let's see what Freeman gets. The runners go. Here it is. And it's ball 4 outside. Freeman draws a bases loaded walk. And that scores Eric Ibar with the first run of the game.
And it was a changeup. And he had been ahead in the count 1-2. Good at bat by Freddie.
So the Braves do strike first. A 2-out bases loaded walk. And now Nick Markakis is the hitter. Nick has said several times this is the spot he likes. He's the club leader in RBIs with 43. And he's the man with the most hitting experience against Hellickson head-to-head. Markakis, a .312 hitter with runners at second or third this year. And that's high. The extra out is looking very big, is it not?
Sure is.
That was on the Jenkins sacrifice play when Hernandez dropped a ball at first base.
They're pretty much pitching Nick away and playing him away. They're giving him a lot of room down the right field line. But that was in on him.
One run, 1 hit, 2 walks, and an error. And a very long third inning on a hot day for Hellickson. Grounded to first. Joseph's got it, and he'll take it to the bag, and that retires the side. The Braves got an extra out, and they cashed it in. A bases loaded walk by Freddie Freeman gives Tyrell Jenkins a third inning lead. by taking the kids to Turner Field for free. The Braves and Chick-fil-A are now offering 2 free tickets for any remaining home game for all members of the Braves Kids Club. Go to Braves.com/kids today and take advantage of this great deal. Phillies do a great job, like the Braves, as being a very family and youngster-friendly major league club. Of course, everybody, kids of all ages, love the Fanatic. How could you not?
And as a result, I mean, they call it the Fan, P-H-A-N, and Fun, P-H-U-N.
They do it right, don't they?
How'd you like to be in that suit today, buddy?
I don't think I'd really like to be in any suit today, to be honest with you.
He got an all-star jersey before the game. So did this guy, Odubel Herrera. This season, our Zaxby's numbers here, a .302 average, .388 on base percentage. Indescribably good play for him. He's been outstanding.
When you try to rebuild your franchise, it's always nice to get some breaks. Rule 5 pick. Odubel Herrera, former infielder. And they put him in the outfield. And going back to the international draft, where the Braves were so excited about the work they did there, that's why many of the players that are picked are shortstops. They're oftentimes the best athletes on the field, and they can move to different positions. Well, that's the case with Herrera. He's made the transition to center field and has done a very nice job out there for the Phillies.
Terrell Jenkins was on the bases a long time. They're in the top of the 3rd inning. See if it has any effect on him, but he's gotten ahead in the count.
Herrera has the first of 2 Phillies hits today. That came on the first pitch of the game. And slapped out of play. It's still 1 ball, 2 strikes. Both the Braves and Phillies will head out of town after the game. Phillies have a long way to go. They've got a 4-game series with the Rockies before the All-Star break. Braves will head to Chicago. We have 4 games in the Windy City. Makeup game with the Cubs tomorrow night, and 3 with the White Sox. And a swing and a miss, and Herrera slams the bat down in disgust. He went fishing, and Terrell Jenkins has his first strikeout today.
He was in a bad frame of mind after the called strike on the first pitch. I don't think the umpire had anything to do with him chasing that one.
Here's Borges. We've mentioned his hitting streak of 14 games. It's the longest by a Philly since Jimmy Rollins had a 15-gamer back in 2014. And he jumps on the first pitch, rips it toward right center. Markakis on the run. He's going to get there right in front of the scoreboard. What a catch. One of Nick's best this year.
No doubt. He had a beat on this from the crack of the bat, a hanging breaking ball. Boy, Borges is just not missing any mistake at all. And Nick, right out in the web of the glove, hauls it in. Great running catch. Thank you.
5 straight retired by Jenkins. Here's Ashe, who also flied out to Nick. And that's a low 1 ball, no strikes.
The flip side for Terrell of being out on the bases for a long time was that Hellickson had to throw a lot of pitches. You get a 3 up and 3 down inning and get him back out there and see what happens.
Popped up. And Terrell Jenkins, no ill effects of standing on the bases last half inning. He does have a shutdown frame. He's retired 6 straight. He leads 1-0. Jeff Francoeur leads off the Braves' fourth. Next.
Top of the fourth inning, and time for our T-Mobile greater coverage of baseball graphic, with the Chicago Cubs having 7 players named to the All-Star team, second team in history to have their entire infield start an All-Star game. Braves have that game tomorrow at Wrigley, and then 3 over the weekend with the White Sox. Chris Sale, maybe the American League starter in the All-Star game, 14-2 on the year, will start Friday. White Sox, just when it looked like Robin Ventura was on the hot seat, about to get fired, they've won 10 out of 15. So catching them at the right time, huh?
Perfect timing, right? And you want to tune in tomorrow night. It's an LA Law matchup. We've got Harrell and Hamill at 8:05 Eastern Time from Wrigley Field. Jeff Francoeur leads off. He struck out his first time up. Hellickson retired the first 7 he faced. Ran into a little trouble in the third inning, threw a lot of pitches. A Philadelphia error led to a bases loaded situation, and Freddie Freeman walked with the bases full to drive in the game's lone run.
That was what was so impressive to me last night about Zach Eflin. Was what he finished up with, fewer than 100 pitches. Complete game effort.
92, I think it was, for the young Philly right-hander. Boy, yeah, not just Eflin last night, but Eichhoff was awfully impressive in the first game too. So the Phillies aren't just hitting, they are really pitching too, which is so important for them. That's a mile high and a mile foul, and into the upper deck. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
4 straight change-ups, and it almost cost him on the 4th.
Rolled toward third. Franco's got it, even with the bag. Sets and fires, and it pulled Joseph off the bag. He was lunging for the ball, and there's another break. Francoeur's aboard to start the 4th inning.
Jeff fooled again, rolled over the top of it. Could have been frustrated, but another example of running it out. You never know what might happen. And by hustling down the line, didn't give Joseph a chance to come off the bag and come back and tag him.
That's an error on the Phillies' third baseman. And as you said, Joseph, former catcher in the minor leagues, he's still learning how to play first base here at the major league level. So there's a break for Atlanta. Let's see if they can cash it in. First pitch swing for Garcia. He's got a hit to center. And now the Braves have 2 on, nobody out. And again, that quick inning for Terrell Jenkins in the bottom of the 3rd inning might be paying some 4th inning dividends.
That one was up. That pitch up a little bit. ADONIS smoked it. He had a hit last night. 1 for 2 today.
Well, AJ could use some hitting luck. Let's see what he can do. 1st and 2nd, nobody out.
Yeah, he's paid his dues.
You know, AJ's excited about the trip back to Chicago. It's always fun for AJ when he plays at Wrigley Field. But the flip side of that is going across town to play against his former team, the White Sox, right before the All-Star break. One of the more popular and productive players in White Sox history.
No question.
Up and away, ball 1. One other National League game in progress today. The Mets are hosting the Marlins, and New York is winning 3-0. That game's in the 3rd at Citi Field. Those 2 clubs hanging around in the East because the Nationals are having trouble beating Milwaukee. They'll try to avoid a sweep to the Brewers today. The Mets are 4 back. The Mets are 5.5 back.
Milwaukee's an interesting club. They seem to play everybody tough, win a few series, lose 2 or 3 in a row, then win against some good teams.
I think, and I've said this before, I think they're going to be a really interesting team to watch at the end of this month with Ryan Braun and Jonathan Lucroy. Can they trade, or would they trade? And would they be able to trade either one of those guys? They try to jumpstart things in the National League Central. 2 balls and a strike. And slashed out a play to the left side. The difficulty for the teams in the Central, you've got the Cubs building a monster on the north side. You have the Cardinals, and then you've got the Pirates. Milwaukee trying to rebuild and Cincinnati trying to rebuild, and they won't have the financial resources that the Cubs and Cardinals have.
See what the Pirates had to do? They could put James Taillon on the DL. Their backup catcher, Chris Stewart, has gone on the DL.
Line to Galvis. Again, AJ just can't believe it.
Wow.
Squares another one up, but he hit it right to the shortstop for the 1st out.
He didn't even get out of the batter's box on that one. It was hit so hard. Breaking ball. You can't guide it. All you can do is try to hit it hard. He's just having some rotten luck.
And you go up to AJ and talk to him about it, and he will, but he's not the kind of guy that talks about moral victories, does he?
No.
So
it's all about winning.
He's 0 for 2, and here's Ibar. Eric with a base hit and the lone run scored. Something about the Pirates that I read the other day, though, you know, they've gotten off to, well, they got off to a good start, but then have had an injury-riddled last 6-7 weeks. They have a very favorable schedule. A lot of games against the Brewers, got games against the Phillies, and a lot of games with the Reds. In other words, the toughest part, at least on paper, of the schedule for Pittsburgh may have already passed them by. And they're going to get Garrett Cole back at some point. That'll certainly help them. But they've got a lot of work to do. But even through that, they're still above 500. They've won 6 straight, and they're 9.5 out.
Yeah, their target probably at this point might be one of the wild card spots yet again.
1 ball, 1 strike.
I know this. If it was a 1-game play-in like they've been in the last 2 or 3 years, I wouldn't want to play them.
And with Jamison Taillon going to the DL with shoulder problems, Tyler Glasnow is the man that will be called up, and he flirted with a no-hitter against Gwinnett a couple of weeks ago. So he's a terrific prospect. Hellickson's had to throw a lot of pitches these last 2 innings. He's ahead of Ibar 1-2. 2 on, 1 out. Braves up a run. And he just missed.
More curveballs this inning.
Hellickson's needed 36 pitches to get the last 4 outs. He threw 20 pitches in the first 2 innings. And now it's a full count.
His last start against the Royals was a win, 6 innings. He gave up 1 run. 2 starts ago at San Francisco, 6 innings, gave up 1 earned run, and won that game 3-2. 7 innings before that against Arizona, got beat 3-1. 7 innings, 3 runs allowed, no walks.
Fouled away.
And he is the old man on their starting staff at age 29. Braves are really making him work.
Yeah, if you have to rely on getting outs via contact, but they make contact and it's foul, that makes you a little crazy, doesn't it?
He's spending almost as much time rubbing up a new baseball today as he has been in throwing pitches.
Ibar's going to see an 8th pitch. Love the approach. Popped him up. Franco drifts back. Galvis calls him off. Lots of foul ground here in Philly. And Ibar is retired. 2 outs for Terrell Jenkins. Well, in a day of firsts, let's see if Jenkins can pick up his first hit and help his cause with an RBI. He already leads 1-0. He laid down a 2-strike sacrifice his first and only time up, and was safe at first when Cesar Hernandez dropped the ball. FRANCOEUR reached on an error. Garcia singled. 2 on, now 2 out.
Terrell looks comfortable with the bat in his hands.
Out of the plate. Now it's 2-2. Braves have left 3 men on base in the game. They've got 2 more on here in the 4th. Line drive, shallow center. Herrera almost overran it. He slammed on the brakes, and he makes the play to retire the side. Braves unable to cash in on an error and a single. They lead 1-0. Home 4th coming up. The 4th inning of play here in Philadelphia. Rookie starter Tyrell Jenkins. That's right, rookie starter. 2 notable adjectives as the Braves wrap up the series with the Phillies. Most rookie pitchers the last couple of years are Academy Sports and Outdoors leaderboard.
Braves with 26. Yankees, believe it or not, with 21. That surprises me. Reds and Athletics don't surprise me. And the Braves with 12 of them already this year.
And that number is going to continue to grow, because that is obviously the strength of the Braves farm system, at least the perceived strength. All the emphasis on drafting and developing homegrown pitching talent, something John Coppola says is the currency of baseball. Young, affordable pitching of all types.
Well, he's obviously a good athlete. And Paul, you've got some more on maybe what was going to happen if he had gone to Baylor?
That's right. He was going to replace RG3. He's the real deal. Great athlete, great competitor. We talked about how he gets mean on the field and super nice guy off the field, but he was raised by his mom, Sharon, a single mom. He talks about his mom a lot. He's very thankful for his mom. And when the St. Louis Cardinals drafted him and upped their draft number to $1.3 million, he couldn't turn that down, and decided that would be a way he could help out his mom and say thank you, and it's all worked out for him, guys.
Franco, it's a screaming line drive at Ibar, who had him shaded perfectly. And Franco's retired. 7 straight set down by Tyrell.
No, you're right, Paul. You can't turn that kind of money down, even though things look pretty good for him from the football standpoint. But any parent would tell you, I sure like the looks of you playing baseball instead of putting that helmet on.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, when those outside linebackers from Oklahoma come off the corner and they want to cream an option quarterback, throwing a baseball probably looks a lot more appealing. And, of course, the Oklahoma corners would have gotten to him.
Well, yeah. Trust me when I say we're glad to see RG3 go.
Yeah. I have to tell our audience one of the best stories about my partner. Years and years ago, he came to the ballpark, chest all puffed out because the what do they call it, crimson and white game?
Yeah, it is these days, yes.
The crimson and white spring game or whatever it was taking place, and Joe came in and said, well, Oklahoma's going to win the national championship this year. The old Crimson team ran for 647 yards, 6 touchdowns, 3 field goals. I said, well, that's great news. He said, yeah, that was the good news. Bad news, defense needs some work.
And it did.
And it did. Yep, happens to us all. 3 balls and a strike for Ruiz. Broken back. Bouncer to third. Adonis has it. And Freeman stretches out. 8 up, 8 down for a very comfortable looking Terrell Jenkins, who, as you heard Brian Snitker say on Braves Live, he can give us 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 innings. Wow, what a lift that would be. Right now, he's on a very nice roll.
And at 50 pitches, so keep it rolling. Quick innings.
And here's Joseph. Joseph, if I remember correctly, was there for the taking. He was a free agent after a long run of concussion issues behind the plate with the Giants organization. I don't think he was on anybody's 40-man roster. And then the Phillies signed him, and here he is trying to be a bridge or be the man that replaces Ryan Howard at first base. Yeah, he was off their 40-man roster. They traded Hunter Pence to get him. That's right. Thanks, Ed. He was the principal part of that deal from the Giants for Hunter Pence, and then the concussions just kept happening, and they had to figure out what to do with him.
Well, in some ways, it's kind of like Justin Bour. You know, there was no place for him to go in the Giants organization behind Posey, or even moving to first base and playing behind Brandon Belt. So he gets a fresh start here, and then the concussion issues. Bour goes to Miami, and he's got a wide open spot and makes the best of it.
Liner foul out of play. Full count. Braves will have the top of the order coming up in the 5th inning. To short. Ibar's got it. Joseph runs like a catcher, and it's 9 up and 9 down. Tyrell Jenkins leads by a run in his starting debut. We go to the 5th. To the 5th inning. Jace Peterson, Ender Inciarte, and Freddie Freeman are coming up.
Wouldn't hurt.
And that's foul at first. Hellickson's thrown 66 pitches today. And with that one pulled foul, that is the 16th foul ball.
Is that right? Wow.
So to my point about him pitching to contact, he's getting contact, but he can't get the Braves to keep it fair.
Man, that's a lot.
No balls, 2 strikes. Peterson's popped up and walked. And didn't offer that one in the dirt. It's now 1-2.
Hellickson pitched last year for the Diamondbacks. Went 9-12 in 27 starts, 4.62 ERA, but also spent some time on the DL with bad hammy. There's that changeup.
Might have been his best of the day. It earns him his 3rd strikeout.
Well, you mentioned the foul balls, Chip, and I think that goes to why he hasn't had a lot of strikeouts today. The Braves are able to adjust to it, to the changeup. He's averaging 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and as you said, that's just the 3rd.
Anders hit the ball in the air twice, once to center, once to the shortstop. That last one hurt. It was on the first pitch after Hellickson walked Jace Peterson to load the bases. Even count, 1 ball, 1 strike. And Hellickson had a month-long stretch of very frustrating work. Over a 6-start period from May 24th until June 20th, he suffered 5 losses in 6 starts. But as you said, last couple of outings, he's been very, very good, pitching the way he and the rest of the Phillies did to start the season. And as you also mentioned, as the oldest guy on this staff, one would think with the deadline approaching August 1st, if he continues to pitch like this, Hellickson would be a very attractive trade candidate for a club looking for a reliable starter.
Yeah, and his strikeout numbers, almost 1 per inning, low walk totals, innings eater.
To short, Galvis to his left, 360 spin, and Joseph at first, dug it out. What a play.
How do they do it? We've seen him do it 2 or 3 times where he does a complete 360 spin and throw it accurately. I don't have any idea how they do that.
And I don't know why this guy doesn't get more recognition around the game as being a good defensive shortstop as he is. You're right. He does this to the Braves, it seems, once a series.
Yeah, it's crazy how he can turn and pick up the target so fast and make that accurate throw while running to right field. That is really amazing.
Freddie Freeman has the game's lone RBI. He drew a bases-loaded walk. That was in the 3rd. And this one's pulled into the shift. Hernandez from the outfield grass. And Hellickson has his first 1-2-3 inning since the top of the 2nd inning. Tyrell Jenkins has set down 9 in a row. He leads 1-0. inning, and time for Tyrell Jenkins to get back to work. He's been rolling merrily along. Pitched out of a 2-on, nobody out mess in the second inning. And since then has retired 9 consecutive Phillies hitters. And don't forget, this is a Phillies club that is on an unbelievable offensive roll.
How about this? 7 groundouts, too. Got a nice catch made behind him by Nick Markakis that helped out. And when he was in a jam, and what inning was that? The second inning, first and second. Nobody out, second and third, 1 out. He was able to get grounders.
That time, Galvis beat the shift. And Tyrell Jenkins will go to the stretch. Here in the Philadelphia 5th inning, a leadoff single the other way by the Phillies' terrific shortstop.
That time he didn't try to pull the ball and just beat it in the ground and hit it in the hole.
Well, this Phillies team has really been an enigma in a couple of different ways. One, they started with such great and dominant starting pitching and an excellent bullpen, couldn't score at all. And they went through some, I guess, mid-season struggles by their young staff, and all of a sudden started hitting. Up until June 20th, Phillies had scored the fewest runs of any team in the big leagues. In their last 14 games, they have hit 22 homers. They have more extra base hits, more hits, the highest batting average of anybody.
Preseason picks had them pegged battling it out with the Braves for 4th or 5th place in the National League East.
Swing and a miss. AJ's throw sails. It's into center field. Galvis, though, can't advance. INCIARTE's Johnny on the spot. And Galvis with a stolen base.
Fifth of the year for Galvis. Hit and run play. Let the throw way off the mark. Nice hustle by INCIARTE to be there.
The Phillies are 0 for 5 with runners in scoring position today. And Cesar Hernandez with a 1-1 count. And that one slapped to left field. FRANCOEUR, a long run to get to the baseball. Juan Samuel will wave home Galvis. The throw to the plate is going to be in time. He got him. And Tyrell Jenkins with a fist pump. Loves the throw of Jeff FRANCOEUR to cut down a potential tying run.
Hey, don't run on the gun. What are you thinking? Juan Samuel watched that all last year in a Phillies uniform. You see AJ's reaction there as it got past Garcia, but FRANCOEUR's not having any of that. Look at this throw on the fly. Bang.
I got to tell you, I didn't think Jeff had a chance to throw him out.
Neither.
But maybe a wide turn by Galvis III cost him a step or two. And that keeps it 1-0 Atlanta. As Hernandez took second on the throw. Here's Hellickson, who grounded out his first and only time. And fouled away.
And in addition to saving the run, it puts an out on the board and really takes away any thought they had of Hellickson bunting another guy into scoring position. Nice throw, good tag.
That throw by Jeff earns the Braves outfield their 23rd assist this year. The only teams in Major League Baseball with more among their outfielders. Houston has 25 and the White Sox have 26. No balls, 2 strikes to the pitcher. Ground ball right side. Peterson to his left. Runner at third. 2 outs.
All right. Get Herrera, get out of the inning. Oh, here comes Brian Snitker. Just about to say one more out to be the pitcher of record. But Brian's going to bring in the left-hander.
So Tyrell Jenkins won't work the required 5 innings to qualify for the win. But boy, did the kid pitch a great game in his first major league start. He has shut out the hot-hitting Phillies on 4 hits. And Atlanta is into the bullpen here in the 5th inning, protecting a 1-0 lead.
Atlanta Braves baseball is sponsored by Chevrolet, Georgia Power, Synovus, the Bank of Here, and Xfinity. X1 from Xfinity will change the way you experience sports.
Time for our Chevrolet game summary. Brian Snitker with a word for Terrell Jenkins.
I hope it's I'm sorry, because I'm really disappointed he's not going to get a chance to finish this inning and see what happens.
Have to pitch 5 innings with the lead to qualify for a win. Jenkins comes up and out short of that. Braves play the lefty-lefty matchup with Kroll versus Herrera. And a line drive to left. First pitch, that's fair and into the corner. The game is tied. And Odubel Herrera is at second base with 2 out. As we told you, Herrera is the best overall hitter for the Phillies. And the newly minted All-Star ties it up with an opposite field double.
Went with a pitch up that was away from him to drive in the run. And my point about my previous comment is that I'm disappointed for Terrell, given how well he pitched, to not have a chance to get his first win. If he gives up the tying run, okay, I understand. But the way these young guys get better is pitching out of trouble. He pitched out of trouble in the first, the second, had a chance with 2 outs to get out of this thanks to a great play by FRANCOEUR. That's how you get better. That's how you learn.
He threw 64 pitches. I'm guessing that factored into the decision. As we've said, Terrell has pitched minimal innings in relief for Atlanta.
I understand that too.
But I'm with you. Braves played the matchup game and it didn't work, as Herrera doubled to left to tie the game. And now you've got to face the hot-hitting Borges with a runner at second. 2 outs. And Ian Kroll still in the game. Borges 0 for 2. He's trying to extend his hitting streak to 15 games. Popped him up. Left center field, shallow. And INCIARTE takes over for Jeff FRANCOEUR, and that will retire the side. The Phillies get a big 2-out double from Odubel Herrera. Terrell Jenkins surrenders a run. And we're tied up middle of the 5th. It's a 1-1 game. We head to the 6th inning now. Nick Markakis, Jeff Francoeur, and Adonis Garcia. Won't know until after the game what was the ultimate influence for Brian Snitker's move to take Tyrell Jenkins down with 2 outs in the 5th inning.
I'll be honest with you, I didn't even see anybody warming up.
Nick 0 for 2 in the game. And that's in for a strike. Paul, your thoughts?
Well, guys, I'm with you on this one. And, you know, I say that with great respect for Snit because he's been doing such a good job. I don't think it was pitch count because he said before the game that he was expecting him to go 70 to 75 pitches. So he definitely had room for one more hitter there. And as a former pitcher, I may be a little biased, but I think Tyrell earned the right to face one more guy for a chance for his first big league win. And as you said, Joe, if it doesn't work, that's fine. The only thing I can think of is Snit says, hey, we need a win. And I think it's the best decision for our team to get that win. But I think he missed out on an opportunity there.
Here's Francoeur. And I think that's
fair.
Those are all fair and valid points. But
Yeah.
I think that's the difficulty that Brian Snitker finds himself in.
And I empathize with that. I understand that.
And
but we're at July 6th, and
right.
The Braves are looking to get their 29th win. In the big scheme of things, in the big plan, developing pitching, that was a great opportunity to at least see, and as Paul said, earn a chance to have something to say about the outcome.
So I'm sure that'll be the first question for Brian Snitker after the game. We'll talk about that on Braves Live. As this one's shot toward left center field, another hit for Jeff Francoeur. His 4th in the series. It's been a happy return to Philadelphia for the Brave, who's also thrown out a runner at the plate today.
Yeah, he's had a good series. Change up there, and he was on it.
Well, let's see if Atlanta can get the lead back. 1 on, 1 out. Adonis Garcia is 1 for 2 and 2 for 6 in the set.
Guys, are you there?
Sure are, Paul.
Really cool moment. Tyrell Jenkins coming off the field. Jeff Francoeur with that great throw. When he came into the dugout after the inning was over, there was no resentment by Tyrell Jenkins. He wasn't back in the locker room. He met Frenchie at the top step and gave him a huge bear hug. Really great to see. This guy's pro.
Yes, he is. I just said to Chip, Paul, during the pitching change, how much I like the way he carries himself. I like his whole demeanor. Talking about Tyrell, that you pointed out earlier, Paul. He's quiet. He's very unassuming off the field, but a different type person once he crosses the line. But handles himself unlike a rookie.
That one's walloped toward right center field. That's going to get down and get up against the fence. Here comes Francoeur to third. Bo Porter's going to wave him. Frenchie is around third. Ball is dropped. All hands are safe, and Atlanta has the lead again. A ringing double by Adonis Garcia scores Jeff Francoeur from first base, and the Braves have jumped back in front. It's 2-1.
Boy, that was ripped. That ball jumped off Adonis's bat. And you got 2 fast guys out there headed to the gap to get it. Or just didn't come up with it as quickly as he would like. And then a mishandled relay. So right back on top. Get another one.
AJ's had no luck today. He's 0 for 2. Galvis playing behind Garcia up the middle, trying to keep him close. And AJ pops one to the left side again. And that'll be the second out for Eric Ibar. 2 runs on 4 hits for the Braves, a run on 5 hits for the Phillies, who've committed a couple of errors. Eric singled and scored the first run of the day. That was in the Atlanta third. The Braves have added one here in the 6th against Jeremy Hellickson. And right across the shoe tops, 1 ball, no strikes. Brandon Snyder's grabbed a bat. He waits on deck. If Ivar can reach, it'll be the end of the line for Ian Kroll. A lot of these fans in Philly are seeking cover wherever they can find it. It is a early July scorcher.
Hasn't gotten any cooler, has it?
It has not. And a very deliberately paced game. Despite just 9 hits combined, the pitch is way high. I mean, they're trying to any way they can to get out of the sun. That guy sitting under the table might want to look out below. See what that guy had in his hand? I think he had maybe the largest cheesesteak sandwich I've ever seen. Look at him.
Oh, yeah. There's going to be some dripping.
2 balls and a strike. And popped left side over by the Braves dugout. That's into the seats. And the count 2-2. You know, we haven't had Paul Byrd eat a cheesesteak here in Philadelphia yet. It's kind of become a Braves broadcast tradition, has it not?
Well, that we've seen. We haven't seen him eat
that's
one.
good. Yeah, good point. If memory serves, the Braves are the reigning cheesesteak eating champions of Major League Baseball for a single series. And a cue shot hit toward third. Franco's got it. A lot of tricky spin. And he made the play. And that retires the side.
On that cheesesteak eating, it's always good to have good anchoring, like pulling on the end of the rope.
It's very true.
by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Right stuff, low price, every day.
2-1 is your score. The Braves are back out in front here in the 6th inning. And as we join you from Philadelphia, we send along warm wishes to one of our colleagues, our graphics coordinator, Brian Wright. He and his dad, Larry James Wright, are watching the game back in the Southeast. And I know Brian and his dad are huge Braves fans. They watch every single game. And wanted to make sure that the Wright family knew our crew was thinking of them today as Braves wrap up this series with the Phillies. And we hope to see them both back at the ballpark real soon. Cody Ashe leads off and takes the ball from Ian Kroll. Braves will try to squeeze another inning out of Ian here in the 6th inning. Faced 2 hitters in the 5th, gave up a game-tying double, and then got Borges to fly out. With Atlanta in front now, Kroll could be the man that picks up the win in relief if he can shut him down right here. Tough inning. 3, 4, 5 hitters are coming up. And ripped straight back foul. It's 2-2. Swing and a miss. Ashe's down on strikes. First strikeout for Kroll,
who's been awfully tough on lefties. His first strikeout. Phillies, when they were playing early, playing well early and surprising everyone, were playing on the road a lot. Their fans weren't even able to see all that good play, and then they came home and didn't play well. They have a losing record at home.
And Brian Snitker, after Ashe was retired on strikes, will go to the bullpen here in the 6th inning. Kroll faced 3 hitters, retired 2 of them. It's a 2-1 Atlanta game.
Baseball is sponsored by Delta Airlines, your local Ford dealer, and Xfinity. X1 from Xfinity will change the way you experience sports.
Fans enjoy brunch at Turner Field Sunday, July 17th with a catered buffet featuring some of the newest Braves food creations and a Bloody Mary and mimosa bar. Go to Braves.com/brunch for more information. Chris Withrow is on to pitch. Michael Franco is the Phillies' third baseman. He'll bat with the bases empty and 1 out.
That brunch, last game of the brief 3-game homestand right after the All-Star break. You see d'Arnaud, who checks into play short on the double switch.
Driven toward right. That's going to chase Markakis back. He's going to turn, and that one's going to sail out of here. So both Kroll and Withrow are unable to retire the first batter they face. Both of those Phillies hitters provide run-scoring hits. And Franco's 17th homer ties the game at 2.
High hanger. Tell you what, this guy, because he swings so hard on every pitch, no matter what it is or where it is, he's playing in the perfect ballpark. That's probably a fly ball out in Atlanta, and it's a home run here. But give him credit, he hit it a ton.
So it's a 2-2 score, and here's Carlos Ruiz. He's walked and grounded out. And that's taken low and outside. 1 ball, no strikes. That's popped up. Franco now's hit a home run in 4 straight games for the Phillies. The all-time record is 8 consecutive games. Ken Griffey Jr., Dale Long, Don Mattingly, I think, is the other man to do that. I was watching and working for the Mariners when Jr. did that, and he missed homering in the 9th straight game. Hit a ball off the yellow line off Kevin Tapani at the Kingdome. Which would have been the all-time record.
He was pretty good.
Oh, man. What a player. Going into the Hall of Fame with Mike Piazza in a few weeks. And now 3 balls and a strike for Carlos Ruiz. By the way, with Franco hitting a homer in 4 straight, he's got an excellent chance to keep that streak alive. They're going to Colorado next.
That's a good point.
And Ruiz walks again. Of all of these Phillies hitters who are impatient, I don't think that could be said of Carlos Ruiz.
He walked on 4 straight his first time up.
There's Joseph. Tell you what, if there's an old Texas steel cage wrestling match between major league teams, I don't think I'd want to see anybody take on the Phillies.
No.
This guy, you've got Cameron Rupp, you've got Ryan Howard. Hellickson's a pretty big guy. 2 pitchers that Jared Eichhoff, he's a big man.
Yeah, they got some big dudes.
1 ball, no strikes. And that's upstairs. Withrow not sharp.
Speaking of big guys, Giancarlo Stanton broke out of it a little bit last night. 2 homers against the Mets.
He's too good a player to be struggling as badly as he's been for Don Mattingly this year. They're trailing 4-2 to New York, however, today. Pitch out of play, foul. I think Stanton had all the RBIs last night. He's got both of them today.
Does he? Well, if he gets it going, they could have a say about how things turn out in the East.
He's hit 2 homers today off Jacob deGrom.
Today?
Today.
And 2 last night.
So that's 4 in 2 days.
Huh.
We said someone's going to pay.
Mm-hmm.
Thankfully, it's not the Braves at the moment. Phillies bullpen is busy. Lineup card moving ever so slowly down toward the pitcher's spot. As Joseph awaits, 2-2 pitch. And a breaking ball got him. There's the second out of the inning. First out recorded by Withrow via strikeout. And here's Galvis.
This was a good curveball here. Had some 12-6 on it.
Galvis singled, stole a base, and was the man thrown out by FRANCOEUR at the plate. And Terrell Jenkins' last inning of work. That's turning out to be a bigger and bigger play by the inning. At the knees, pretty pitch. 2 balls and a strike. We've reached 3 o'clock in Philadelphia. It's game 3 of the series. Terrell Jenkins started for the first time in the big leagues today and looked very impressive. 1 run, 4 hits over 4 2/3 innings. And Galvis didn't get that. Kroll and Withrow have followed in relief. Jeremy Hellickson still out there for the Phillies.
Yeah, it's actually hotter than it was when we started. It's 93 at the moment.
Strike 3 looking, and that will retire the side. But Michael Franco has hit a solo home run for the Phillies. And with that blow, he ties it up as we go to the 7th. Zombie night at Turner Field Friday, July 15th, when the Braves take on the Rockies. Fans who buy this special ticket package will receive an A.J. Brzezinski zombified bobblehead. Go to Braves.com/zombie today. That should be a fun weekend. You've got Zombie night on Friday, fireworks after the game, Saturday's game, and then just when you need a little help and a little motivation, you've got the Sunday brunch with the Bloody Mary and Mimosa Bar. I mean,
sounds like a plan.
What else do you need?
Not much.
As we get our first look at Edubre Ramos, who's He's on for the Fightins.
But I see 5 2/3 innings and 7 strikeouts. Edebray throws in the mid to upper 90s with a curveball.
He really opened some eyes in the minor leagues for the Phillies. At Reading and Lehigh Valley, 2-1, 10 saves, a 1.16 ERA, 41 strikeouts, 4 walks.
Oh my!
In 26 games.
That's outstanding.
They'll replace Hellickson, who worked his way through 6 innings of 2-run ball today. 1 ball, 1 strike for Chase Darno. He's got his first at bat and he rips it to left. And Ashe with a lunging catch, running to his right. 1 down.
Well, that ball jumped off Chase's bat and had some carry to it. Might have been hooking a little bit too, the way he had to lunge for it.
Hellickson struck out 3, gave up 4 hits, 2 runs in his 6 innings of work. And now Ramos will face Jace Peterson, who's 0 for 2 with a walk. $19,211 in attendance today as Peterson awaits a 1-1 pitch that's way inside.
From 95 to a 79-mile-an-hour curveball.
At the knees at 95. Strike 3 at the belt. Ramos has his first strikeout. And Ender Inciarte will bat with the bases empty.
Got him with a curveball. And a pretty good one. Nice strike call, but it's a good off-speed pitch.
So we've seen 3 pretty plus pitches from this guy out of the bullpen. Fastball, curveball, slider. And now Inciarte bats, 2 outs. Late, strike 1. The Tigers taking out some frustration on Cleveland. They're going to win their first game head-to-head with the Indians today. It's 12-2 in the 9th inning in Cleveland. Fly ball, right center field. That ball pretty well hit. Herrera is onto the warning track and at the 398 sign makes the grab to retire the side. Inciarte hit it a long way, but he's retired and so are the Braves. We stretch in a tie game at 2. 2-2 game at the 7th inning stretch. Glad you're with us here from Philadelphia on this sunny July 6th afternoon. Withrows back in action for the Braves as Cesar Hernandez leads off for the Phillies. Braves scored single runs in the 3rd and 6th. Philadelphia with runs in the 5th and 6th. And here we are with the bottom part of the order getting things started. And Withrow missed inside 1-0. Swing and a miss. Hernandez singled in the 5th inning. Trying to bring home Galvis with that hit to left. Francoeur, though, threw the Phillies shortstop out at the plate. As this one's whacked into right field for a leadoff single. Hernandez with a 2-hit game. He's starting to heat up. In fact, he's hitting over 400 in his last 20 outings for the Phils.
Yeah, he's had a good series. That's his 5th hit in 3 games.
So the Phillies go to the bench. And Jimmy Paredes will come up. Phillies got him from the Blue Jays on the 1st of June for cash. He started the season as a member of the Orioles. Toronto designated him for assignment on May the 30th.
Yeah, he's been with the Orioles for several years.
He's the first Philly to wear number 41 since Gavin Floyd. Remember Gavin? Former Brave too. Charlie Manuel also wore number 41.
Wait a minute. What about Charlie? Player? Okay.
Yep. Hope Charlie's doing well. You've seen him around the ballpark. And cut on and missed. Strike 1. Paredes can play 3rd, he can play right, he can play 2nd, and he's played left field too. .309 hitter in the minor leagues this season. A .240 mark with the Phillies. They signed him because one of Andy McPhail's great statements when he was in charge of the Chicago Cubs was, "I love a Paredes." So that was a no-brainer. And they could go get this man. It's fouled at the plate and off his foot. 0-2. I've got a multi-million-dollar idea. If you can invent a shoe that would make that not hurt, you wouldn't be forced to sit next to me.
Well, it would have to be something that comes all the way up over the knee.
Well, with today's fashion.
Then you got to run with it.
You never know. No balls, 2 strikes.
When the Phillies got him, he became their 4th switch hitter on their club. 2 that are in the lineup daily, Galvis and Hernandez. But Paredes joined Andres Blanco as the other off the bench. It's a nice luxury to have too.
One ball, 2 strikes. Jim Longboard, Chris Short, Tom Hume, Steve Ontiveros, Brett Myers, others who've worn number 41 with the Phillies, including a man named Pretzel Pizzulo back in the 1930s. Game is tied, 2 balls, 2 strikes. The Fanatics on top of the Phillies dugout, try to put the X on Chris Withrow. Swing and a miss. AJ's throw is high and late. So Paredes strikes out. Hernandez steals second. He's in scoring position for the top of the order. And Brian Snitker has the lineup card, and he's going to make his way to the mound for another pitching change.
Hernandez able to hang on to the base. And smart move by d'Arnaud to keep the tag on him just in case.
So Withrow goes an inning, 2 hits, a run, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. And the man at second is his responsibility as well. Our game is tied. We're in the 7th. Back to Philly in a moment.
Braves Baseball is sponsored by your local Toyota dealers, Let's Go Places, the Georgia Lottery, and Zaxby's Indescribably Good.
2-2 game continues in the bottom of the 7th inning as Hunter Cervenka warms up. We'll take you back on this date in Braves history. 30 years ago today, one of the great hitting performances in Atlanta history. July 6, 1986 at the old ballpark. Bob Horner hit 4 home runs in one game against the Expos. 4 of them.
Look how short that swing was. Strong hands and wrists, and just a whip of a swing. What a shame that his career was kind of cut short by hand and wrist injuries.
He became the 11th player in history to do that, but the first player to hit 4 homers in a game that his team lost. 11-8 was the score.
Well, I don't think I knew that.
And there's more. Popped up foul by Odubel Herrera. Back in 1986, when Ted Turner owned the club, Ted Turner also was bankrolling what were called the Goodwill Games. And the Goodwill Games were taking place in Russia. And the Goodwill Games were airing live on TBS. The fans around the country who follow the Braves did not get to see that game until later that night when it was played on tape delay, because the Goodwill Games in Moscow had already completed. And that, as you know, is how my dad's Hall of Fame moto ball broadcasting career began.
I remember Pete's calls of the home runs. They were classic.
So I hope Bob Horner is doing well. He was one of my favorite players to watch as a kid. He comes back occasionally to Atlanta for some of the alumni events. I hope we'll see him back in Atlanta soon. It's Cervenka versus Herrera, a 2-2 game. Go ahead run at second for the Phillies. Herrera's had a good day again today. 2 more hits, including an RBI. And that just missed. 1 ball, 1 strike.
One of the differences between Herrera's stance and approach versus Galvis is that Herrera, when he comes back toward the plate from his wide open stance, his foot is in the air. He has a leg kick which is not locking his hips up. Again, there's a lot of moving parts, but it certainly works for him. That odd position of his right foot. See if Hunter breaks out that good slider away. Fastball in instead.
Get all wrapped up in wins and losses and saves and strikeouts and the like for Major League relief pitchers. First batter faced is maybe the most important stat. Cervenka's retired 23 of 37 first batters this year. Roughly 67%.
How's his inherited runners?
2 of 23 have scored.
That's outstanding.
That's another really important stat. Neither Kroll nor Withrow could get the first man assigned them. Let's see if Cervenka can here with a 2-2 count. And a swing and a miss by Herrera. He really flailed at that pitch, and he has a long look back at Paul Nauert behind the plate again. He didn't see eye to eye with him in the 3rd inning, and he is struck out for a 2nd time.
There's that slider. Boy, it's a good one.
So Borges another chance to extend his hitting streak, which sits at 14. He's 0 for 3. And they are going to take the bat out of his hands and go lefty-lefty with Cody Ashe, who waits on deck. Ooh, that was close. Years from now, when you break out the old videotapes of Braves baseball, you'll be able to say to your grandson, granddaughter, you may not know what this play is in Major League Baseball. This is what they used to call an intentional walk. It's one of the proposed rules changes. Just hold up 4 fingers and send the man to first rather than throw the 4 pitches out of the zone. So 2 on, 2 out. Here's Ashe, 0 for 3. Ashe had a nice game last night, but historically does not hit the Braves very well at all. Ashe has 19 hits and 151 at bats against the Braves in his big league career. Ashe, good hitter against lefties.
They were careful not to let him ambush the first pitch there. Started him with a slider that was well off the plate.
And when I say a good hitter, it's a small sample, but he's got 4 hits and 13 at-bats against him coming into today's play. He almost got hit with that one. Ball 2. Popped up. A.J. Pierzynski over near the Phillies on deck circle. He's there. And that is the 3rd and final out. And A.J. almost handed that baseball Larry Boa. That was great. Nice job by Cervenka. We head to the 8th. Back-to-back. The T-Mobile Home Run Derby airs on ESPN July 11th at 8 Eastern. And very next night, don't miss baseball's biggest stars at the 87th All-Star Game presented by MasterCard July 12th on Fox. Coverage starts at 7:30 Eastern Time.
One of the great things about having that All-Star Game out in San Diego is there's going to be a very strong military presence to honor those folks, rightfully so, and also to honor Tony Gwynn. There's going to be a lot of Tony Gwynn stuff, and I like that too.
This is Hector Neris.
Fastball split. Low 90s fastball, a good split finger pitch. You get one or the other.
Freeman brought home the first run of the game with a bases loaded walk.
That was the split.
And Freddie's down on 3 pitches to start the 8th inning. He is struck out for a second time. 1 up and 1 down. Here's Markakis 0 for 3. Ellickson went 6 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs. Tyrell Jenkins in his first big league start, 1 run and 4 2/3 worth of work. Kroll, Withrow, and Cervenka have followed in relief. Ramos and Neris now pitching for the Phillies out of the bullpen. That's out of play, foul. Lined into right center field. That'll get down for a hit for Nick. There's the go-ahead run for the Braves. Markakis with a 1-for-4 afternoon.
He's had a hit in each of the 3 games. That looked like a split that was left upstairs, and he picked on it. See if the Braves can turn that into a go-ahead run here late. Jeff's had a good day.
Sure has. He's reached twice, singled once, scored once, and he's thrown out a man at the plate. Slowly hit towards short. Back flip to second, and the Phillies get the lead runner, Markakis. Looked like there was a momentary bit of hesitation from Freddie Galvis as to what to do, but he made the right decision for the Phillies, and he got the leading runner for out number 2.
Well, another difficult play, too, to kind of wrap his arm around his body to flip it back there to Hernandez. Just an effort to try to keep that go-ahead run off of second base. And you're right, he did look. He had time.
Well, this was the dynamic duo for the Braves in the 6th, as that one got all the way to the backstop. FRANCOEUR into second on a very wild pitch. Adonis Garcia doubled Jeff home from first base in the 6th inning with 1 out. That put the Braves in front. No chance for Ruiz to get that one from Neris.
Well, thanks to that wild pitch, don't need a double. A single or an error might do it. It's where the infielders all have to remind each other with 2 out to knock the ball down, if at all possible, to keep that runner at second from scoring.
Pulled fair and down the left field line. That's going to put the Braves back in front. FRANCOEUR and Garcia get it done for the Braves in the 8th inning. Back-to-back doubles for Garcia, back-to-back RBIs for the Braves third baseman, and Atlanta leads now 3-2.
24 RBIs now for Adonis, and none bigger than that one. Split finger pitch. Started darting down and in, but it was up enough for him to be able to get the barrel to it and pull it past Franco. Big hit.
Let's see if AJ can add to the Braves lead. He's 0 for 3. And that straightened him up inside. 1 ball, no strikes. Line drive left field. That's going to get down. Ashe's got it. Tricky hop. And a stop sign thrown up by Bo Porter, and wisely so. Boy, that was a good play by the Phillies left fielder to not let that ball skip past him. Had it done so, would have scored another run.
Well, Bo Porter was waving Garcia home all the way on this until something happened to Garcia. And I don't know if it's his ankle acting up again or not, but he really slowed as he got to third base, and Bo had to hold him up then. Yeah, he's favoring that ankle again.
So Bob McClure, the Phillies pitching coach, out for a visit. Brandon Snyder is going to come on and hit for Cervenka. The Braves have taken the lead 3-2 and are looking for more here with 2 outs.
Yeah, and Arodys Vizcaíno is up already for the Braves here in the 8th.
You've got the middle of the order coming up for the Phillies. Franco, Ruiz, and Joseph. Perhaps that is the thinking for Brian Snitker. Get your closer in for what is perceived to be the tougher part of the lineup.
Yeah, I like that.
And see what happens for the ninth. Snyder's done a nice job at a pinch for the Braves this year. 3 for 11 with a team high 5 pinch hit RBIs, including a homer. That popped out of Ruiz's glove. 1 ball, 1 strike. Phillies play a ton of one-run games. They're 19-9 in one-run decisions this year.
That's got to be as good as anybody.
The Braves are 7-11. Up and in. Snyder's chin whiskers an inch shorter after that pitch. 2-1. Fly ball well hit toward left center field, but it's going to be caught by Herrera, and that will retire the side. The pick to click is FRANCOEUR and GARCIA. They've done that twice. An RBI hit for ADONIS puts the Braves in front in the 8th. Thinking unconventional managing today. So far it's worked out well for the Braves, who lead 3-2. Plenty of things for Joe and I and Paul Bird to talk about on Braves Live, presented by Xfinity. After hopefully Atlanta wins 1 out of 3 games here against the Phillies. Biggest question was Brian Snitker's decision to pull Terrell Jenkins with 2 outs in the 5th inning, with Odubel Herrera up for a 3rd time against the Braves starter in what was then a 1-run Atlanta lead. Ian Kroll came in, gave up a game-tying hit. Now he's got his closer, Arodys Vizcaíno, on in the 8th inning, not the 9th, but with the 4, 5, and 6 hitters coming up for the Phillies. So I'm not second-guessing it, but it is something you don't often see done. A closer coming in the 8th inning rather than the 9th inning in the big leagues.
I like it. I mean, it's the part of their order. He has had 5 days rest, and he could even go a 2nd inning in the 9th if this one doesn't turn into a long inning. So bringing it, sometimes your save, as they often say, is not in the 9th. It might be in the 8th.
And he's got Franco up there, who's hit a home run today, and the first pitch right there for a strike. Franco 1 for 3, 17 homers now, 4 of them against the Braves. And AJ held it there, didn't get the call, even count. Franco, Ruiz, and Joseph.
A little action on that one. AJ trying to help it out a little bit to get the call. Franco's first move is toward third base. He's trying to get a head start on that fastball, I guess.
Three balls and a strike. The last time Vizcaíno worked a perfect 1-2-3 was June 10th. That was against the Cubs. And he's behind here in a one-run game. And Franco was all over that, fouled back. And here's his homer earlier.
I don't think he was trying to go to right field with that one either. Off with throw, high hanging breaking ball. He went opposite field. He doesn't care which direction it goes, as long as he can swing hard. This is an important pitch for Vizcaíno. As much trouble as he was having leading into this 5 days of rest, if he were to put the tying run on, might get in his head a little bit. You'd like to see him get this first out of the inning and move on.
But he can't. Leadoff walk. In that stretch for Vizcaíno, where he's had base runners in all these outings, he's had 2 losses, 3 saves.
Well, his last 3 outings in particular, 5 walks mixed in there, now 6 walks. And that's only in 2 1/3 innings.
There's a man we know can hit a fastball. Carlos Ruiz.
Yeah, he'd prefer you throw him a first pitch fastball high.
One ball, no strikes.
Adonis in for an encouraging word.
As you said, this is a very aggressive hitting Phillies team. But the man in the batter's box has really made the Braves staff work today. Ruiz has a couple of walks. He's way ahead in the count, 2-0. In picking up, blowing out. And he rips one, just foul at third. That was close.
Jim Joyce right on the line. Has to go over the bag, and it did not. Adonis helping him out there.
Mets lead the Marlins in the 9th now, 4-2. We told you about Giancarlo Stanton. 2 homers today. 2 homers last night. In fact, Joe, Stanton had 4 homers and 4 at-bats in that series.
He's back.
He's back. And Vizcaino's back in this count. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Ground ball. That sneaks through for a base hit. 2 on, nobody out.
That was a good pitch, Chip. That was hard breaking slider down. He just dropped the barrel on it. Found a hole.
So Roger McDowell out for a visit. Hey, the Braves bullpen's really done a good job. This entire month of July, they have their best ERA by a month working. A .287 mark. Braves have given up 5 earned runs in 15 2/3 coming into today's play. I know it's a small sample size, but month by month, the ERA has gotten better and better as the year's gone on. Today, a rare occurrence where the Braves pen has made it a little tougher on themselves than they would like.
They had a hard time getting that first guy they faced. Cervenka was the only one to retire his first hitter.
Yep, 3 out of the 4. Braves relievers have allowed a walk or a hit to get the inning started. Here's Joseph. He's 1 for 3. If you can get the ball on the ground, you might get 2. And a flinch behind the plate. Now, Paul Nauert's hearing it from the Braves dugout.
They saw the flinch too.
Ground ball to third. Adonis has it. Second for 1. Jace the turn. Just what the doctor ordered. 2 for the price of 1. A double play.
Boy, needed that. Right in on him. That ball had a lot of tailing action in on him. Good turn by Jace. 1 to get.
How close? I'm sorry. How close was he to the bag on that play? With the slow runner at first, Adonis.
Oh,
maybe think about 3. Take another look. Don't want to get greedy. 2's just fine. Let's see if we can get the third out conventionally here with Galvis up. And down and in. Got a slow runner in the box.
He's good 2-3 steps. And a bad ankle.
1 ball, no strikes. Two 2-0. Hernandez waits on deck. He's been the hotter of the 2 Philly hitters compared to Freddie Galvis. Ripped back toward us and into the upper deck.
Galvis wants to swing. Struck out his last time up. That's 67 strikeouts for him.
Brady pitch, 2-2.
It's one of his best fastball strikes in terms of location and something on it in about 2 or 3 outings.
Swing and a drive belted right field. The Phillies lead.
That fastball was coming back to the middle of the plate, or in this case, the barrel of Galvis's bat. And there's no doubt he'd been 0 for 3 in his career against Vizcaíno. Like I said, he wants to swing.
So the Phillies have stunned the Braves in the 8th inning. A leadoff walk in a 1-run game. And just when you thought the Braves were going to get out of it after a great pitch to get the ground ball double play, Galvis turned on a fastball and hit his 8th home run to make it a 4-3 game. 2 more homers for the Phillies in this series. And now it's 2-0. And Vizcaíno is enduring a month-long, I won't say slump, but he just hasn't been the same crisp and effective reliever that we saw in the first 2.5 months. Popped up into center, and that retires the side. Phillies get a home run from Freddie Galvis.
State Farm instant replay, and it was kind of an instant replay for the Braves in the 6th and 8th innings. Jeff Francoeur in the 6th inning with 1 out, got a base hit, and Adonis Garcia put the Braves back on top with this gapper double to right center field. Go ahead to the 8th inning with Jeff Francoeur aboard on a fielder's choice. He went to second on this wild pitch, and once again it's Adonis Garcia coming through with what was like an instant replay double to get Francoeur home and again give the Braves the lead, one that they surrendered there in the bottom of the 8th.
So we head to the 9th inning, down a run now. Chase Darno will bat for the 2nd time. He'll face Jeanmar Gomez. And he gets ahead with a strike.
He was one of the last guys under debate for the All-Star team to not make it.
What a find this man has been for the Phillies. He has a 9-game save streak and a 10-game save in a row streak for the Phillies. Blew his 2nd save on June 12th. Had only 5 save opportunities in June. That was during the stretch where the Phillies just couldn't score runs and couldn't win. Well, he's got a chance to polish off another 1-run victory for the Phillies with a scoreless 9th today. And he had Darno reaching there.
Fastball, changeup, sliders. Fastball in the low 90s. That appeared to be a slider.
22 saves in 37 games for Jeanmar Gomez. Ground ball to short. Galvis has it. Close play, 1 out. And Jace Peterson's the batter. Jace has an 0 for 3 day with a couple of strikeouts. The Braves play the Cubs at Wrigley Field tomorrow night. Braves live at 7:30. First pitch at 8:05 Eastern Time. We'll stay in Chicago and finish up the first half of the season with the White Sox. This has been a back and forth game. Braves have had leads of 1-0, 2-1, 3-2. But a 2-run homer by Galvis with 2 strikes and 2 outs turns things around for the Phillies.
And this ballpark, I mean, obviously 1 run is never enough, but you're never comfortable in this ballpark because of the proximity of the bleachers in the outfield.
Right side on the ground. Hernandez has that. Andres Blanco checked into play first base, by the way, and he handled that throw perfectly. 2 outs. Boy, so many things to talk about on Braves Live, presented by Xfinity. That's coming up after the 9th inning in Philly today. Braves need a run to avoid being swept. Ender Inciarte 0 for 4. And he moved his feet. 1 ball, no strikes. One ball, no strikes. Fly ball slicing down the left field line near the pole and foul. Back to the mound. Gomez has it, and the Phillies have swept the Braves. An 8th inning stunner. A 2-run homer with 2 outs by Freddie Galvis wins the game for the Phillies. Final score in Game 3, 4-3. Back to Citizens Bank Park. We'll recap it right after this.